I'm Christian Chiller. Welcome to my podcast, an enthusiastic ramble through whatever has taken my interest the past week or so. Expect technology, games, history, travel, geekery, and as always, much, much more. Welcome to another Chinchilla Squeaks interview show with me, Christian Chiller. I have two interviews for you this episode, both taken from KubeCon back in Paris before the Olympics. I am still wondering how that's going to go. It's a fairly chaotic city. KubeCon is tiny in comparison to the Olympics. Now, these were on the show floor. The quality varies. Let's begin with the interview that is the noisy one. It is with Matt Wilson from the Docker BuildCloud team, and he's also joined by a colleague whose name I didn't quite catch, so I do apologize. We also don't really catch him massively on the microphone, but he added some interesting points. Just tell me your name. That'd be great. Thank you very much. And then second, I have Sebastian Blanc from Aiven, a database as a service provider that have an office here in Berlin and in a few other places, actually. Before I jump into those interviews, those noisy, vibrant, conference-sounding interviews, first, a few words from sponsors.
I really need to go into detail about what Docker is, I think,
Good.
at a KubeCon. I'm actually pleased to see a good Docker presence at KubeCon, because I think for years I was always like, where's Docker? And considering it was kind of technology that almost kickstarted this revolution of containers, it's good to see it kind of back as a presence.
Yeah.
But let's talk specifically about some of the things you are announcing and working on right now.
Sure.
And probably the first one is this BuildCloud. So maybe we should go back a very brief step. And so what, in the context of Docker, just in case it's not clear, what is building?
What is building? So building is a very simple Docker command. It's when you are taking your layers and building your image so that you can create your containers and deploy your software. In the inner loop and both in the outer loop.
And so if I was to be doing that at the moment at scale in production, what would I be doing that Docker Build is doing instead?
Docker BuildCloud.
Sorry, Docker BuildCloud.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So there's two ways that typically people use when they build images. So one is when they're using their local machine. And that's really great, right? Laptops are powered and it's wonderful, and you have your cache and you can rebuild these images. Life is good. And you also have then your CI/CD pipeline. So a lot of those do container builds. Don't need to name them by name. You know the CI/CD providers. And what BuildCloud's doing is kind of hitting a few different pain points. So internally, and then we spoke to a lot of our users, the problems they come across are some images take a long time. And that could be multiple reasons why. So one is that they're so big that they take all the resources on your machine and you can't do anything. And so you sat around for 20 minutes, just like twiddling your thumbs. You can't even go on YouTube. You can't watch any cat videos. You can't do anything. And then the problem you have is like your pal next to you, especially in this like new world where we're all remotely located, well, he's doing the same thing. And then your other friend, she's doing the same thing. And so you're like duplicating this pain and this effort across all of you. So we had this internally where we were building the Linux kernel and it was taking 20 minutes and we had 7 people working on it, and 20 times 7 is a long time. And so what we tried to do with BuildCloud is like, okay, how do we make it so that you're not limited by your machine? And now not everyone just wants to completely rip up their pipelines and move straight into the cloud. So we're like, how do we bring just enough cloud? So what we do is taking it from the inner loop story. You have Docker Desktop, you have your Docker login, you have Docker build, compose up all those commands. And what we did is say, right, okay, let's move the processing of that and the building of that image to the cloud where a resources are more scalable, more infinite. So we put basically BuildKit, the open source project, in the cloud. But we did some clever stuff with BuildX to help the context transfer, so speed up that part. And what that means is that I can build my image in the cloud. And that's cool for me. And what I can do is I don't have to learn any new CLI commands, so it's very simple. It also means like I can build the image, and Sivan can come online later, and he can use my images that I've already cached. So his work is like more than half. Like he doesn't have to repeat any of my efforts already. And then we've got the problem. So, you extrapolate that across an average dev team of like eight developers. And we take into this, like, there's these studies out there that developers wait on average an hour a day, wait for builds to finish. That's a lot of money wasted when you, across a company and an organization.
Underestimating an hour.
Yeah, well, it's an independent study, and it was like, it's a good test bed, but it's a growing thing. And then you have the same thing of, like, a lot of companies have their CI/CD pipeline managed by the platform engineers, and you kind of chuck it over the fence. But those builds are taking quite a long time as well. And the problem there you've got is, same locally, you've got not great use of cache. You don't have native builders either, so if you're trying to ever do emulation on your machine, especially with the new more ARM coming in and more Apple Silicon, it is painful. It's painful to set up, it's painful if it breaks, you have to go and fix it. Using a lot of CI providers, they build one architecture typically. So what we have then is like, okay, well, we can make it so your local builds work remotely, multi-architecture, and we share this cache, great. It's taking our CI pipeline. And we don't change it. You don't have to like move away from your Jenkins or your CR, your Circle or GitHub, like your beloved things you spent hours creating. You just connect it.
Right.
And our builds then happen. We build natively, so you have an ARM builder and AMD builder natively. You can use the same cache that you've already built up from your dev loops, and then outcomes you get like massive speed up times.
So I think my next question was going to be, a lot of people have been doing their own homegrown and also commercial solution for some time. So firstly, you're not looking to replace all of that, just literally mostly the builds instead.
Only the build stuff. It's very complementary so we integrate. This was really important to us actually. Like, we are developers, they were all developers, and we've all worked in companies, and people put a lot of time and energy and these they're tools that they love. We're not coming along to disrupt that. What we want to do is like, hey, you've got the CI pipeline.
Yeah.
We just want to make that bit faster. So we're not interested in like the deployment aspect of it. We just want to make the thing we're good at better. So it works with every registry, it works with every CI provider.
And it basically just literally replaces that Docker build.
Yeah. You still push it where you want to go, you pull it down if you want to pull it. You own the cache, you can clear the cache. Nothing new.
And actually the Docker build command, it doesn't change.
No. Yeah.
It's just the way you configure your builder first, and then, so that's the only change actually, configuring your builder, and to point to this remote cloud builder.
And we've even made that simple. So you take like a typical organization, right? You have like a platform engineer that typically manages that. And definitely in this new world, right? You have platform engineers, a lot of people now interested in like developer experience. There's roles called I'm in charge of developer experience. And there's the old comics of like, I'm waiting for everything to compile, and they're trying to like reduce those times down. So what we have is like one person can create the builder. It takes sign up, it takes like 40 seconds to create that first builder. And then you have two options. That will just appear in Docker Desktop for everyone saying, hey, a new builder's here. And you press a button and connect, or you write like a one-line CLI command, and then you can switch as well. So sometimes you might I want my local machine, just switch back. It takes like 2 seconds to do so.
And you can even control by command line, like on the Docker build, like I do use -- builder and point to my Docker default builder, or -- builder and point to cloud. So depending the repository or the build, you can switch easily between your builders.
And then the artifacts are hosted with Docker, or they get pushed somewhere else?
Whatever you do. So if you've got an on-premise registry, you push it. If you've got using Docker Hub, works with that. ECR, ACR, completely agnostic. We're not asking you to change anything apart from there's a little line that instead of going through your pipeline, it goes up into a builder and goes where you want it to be.
But that build is running on Docker, not Docker infrastructure, but Docker.
Yeah, so they're currently hosted by us, and what we do is we build. Think of it in two ways. Like they both work the same, but just to be really clear, right? If you're a developer or you're an organization, what we do is the builder's created against your hub namespace. Yeah. So that's completely isolated. It's completely encrypted in transit and at rest. You own it. You don't share that instance with anyone else. So it's completely like cut off from other people. We don't mix code. Yeah, no one wants that.
However, I assume, and I'll look for the most pragmatic response I can get to this question, despite the fact that is that adding that extra hop does introduce some overhead, latency, etc., etc. Has there been much notification of that instead of just keeping it all in one place?
It has. We haven't found it's introduced much latency at all. Like we're talking,
not latency, but the sort of inherent cost in time and cost of moving something from here to there and then back again to somewhere else.
No, I mean, it depends what you're talking about. In terms of like human hours, like
No,
configure it. Literally, like
Yeah.
tech hops. We haven't noticed any slowdown. Everything's quite connected well on the internet, so it works.
sure,
It works quite nicely.
Still,
But in terms of time, when we had one customer, they've been using it. Their builds were taking 20 minutes. I mean, it's a bit of an outlier. Like some people's take hours, some people's take minutes. They got it down from 20 minutes down to 40 seconds, and like that for them is like a huge, like, this is amazing. Like we just saved us millions of dollars worth of like management and stuff.
and also other features in there for again, that moving things around the internet comes with a certain amount of management as well. So like a company based in the EU may only want their assets to go to Docker buildings,
Yeah.
etc., that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, that's on the roadmap. So at the moment, it's all hosted in the US.
Okay.
But in the next month or so, we're going to have multi-region builders. So we've got lots of requests, and like we are both European, so we know the deal there. We have one internally for like built in Paris for us, but it's coming in the next couple of weeks.
And I mean, obviously the build kit, the core of build is open source. Was there any? You are the people who make Docker. Are there any like behind closed doors tweaks you've got to make things just a little bit better than everybody else?
We've done some work. Yeah, we have some things we've been working on. Still working out like what we do with upstream and some of that at the moment. It's still we just launched the product, so we're pushing those decisions so we can move fast, give the users what they need. Yeah, we've definitely done some stuff to make it so the context transfer time between the remote instance. And that's one of the benefits of we know our code well, and we can optimize it.
Okay. And it's probably a hard one to. Well, no, you do know. But has it been popular? It's hard to know who isn't using it, of course. But
BuildCloud will build generally in build.
BuildCloud.
Yeah, BuildCloud it's done okay. Yeah, we kind of properly went live. We did like a silent launch in December, went live in January, and got lots of our users using it. Personally, really happy. We've got a lot of like independent people using it, and a lot of like small to mid-sized businesses. Huge uptake in that sense, and it's nice. The graph is growing, and we've seen people sign up multiple times every hour. And then, because you get it for free, right? So you get different tiers. We can send you the details, but like if you're a business customer, you get 800 minutes a month. If you're an individual, you get 50, and then there's some variance in between of what you're having. So we let people try it out. That renews every month. You do no contracts. You do month to month. Then you can buy. What we've also tried to do, we got lots of feedback about in these kind of current economic times. Like cost control is really important. So we're not going. You don't get a build shop at the end of it. So what happens is you get these minutes for free, and if you want to add seats, you can actually go there. If you want to lock it down, you can add seats, and we give you 200 minutes for every seat, recurring every month. And then if you want more, especially for CI typically you want like one user because multiple people use that. So you buy one seat, and then you can buy bundles of minutes, and so you can have much more predictive. And that was really important for like a certain size of company. So we kind of try to make it easy and simple.
I think this is interesting. On an aside, I actually need to do some load testing work for an analyst firm. And doing it all locally gets to a point where that's not going to be enough. So
we've also done it, just because you mentioned that, when we were building this. So if you go into Docker Desktop now, there's a build UI.
Yeah.
And we launched that for 26, I think. And that was very much for local builds. So you can see all your builds, you can dive in, look at the logs. And now with this version, you can download it, and you can see everyone using the build.
Yeah.
What we've been using for when we were doing load testing, you can see what was failing, you can dive into the logs, I can share the reference with my teammate, be like, hey, what's going on here? It gives you much more insight into the logs, which we found quite a lot from our customers.
I'll come back to that in a second. I have one other quick follow-up question. When you mentioned the independent developers, so we talked about that aspect of being able to. It's probably seemed a dumb question. I think I'm answering the question as I'm asking it. Actually, but, the place to send the build and back to where it came from, and that includes local, I guess.
It's just your normal command. It's either push or pull, and you do what you want to do. You have whatever you need, and we'll make it work for it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to try because it always feels like local should be faster than sending something back.
I mean, you have to work it all out, right? If you're building like a really small app, like it's going to take 2 seconds. Local might, this is what Docker's trying to do. It's like just enough cloud. Yeah. So you've got those really small images. You don't want to go all in, and you don't want all the tools every developer has on the machine they've used.
Just enough AI.
For like 10, 20 years. And your local machine might be better. It's when you should be able to use the cloud when you need it, and you should be able to control it, like how you want that done dynamically.
So coming back to where we were just going in a second, this may or may not be your area of expertise. within the company.
Sure.
Possibly is your portfolio, shall we say. But now Docker has sort of started to re-add a lot of different commercial services
Sure.
to different aspects of the kind of container journey.
Yeah,
lifecycle.
across like the SDLC.
So does Docker BuildCloud fit into? Is there some kind of overall like portal where a manager or someone or whoever needs to can see, the BuildCloud, the Scout, the private registers, the etc., or there was still a little disparate?
I don't know if I can talk
Yes,
about that.
What does one exist at the moment?
At the moment, we have like build.docker.com, which you can go and see some of the stuff, and we have different ways that we are soon going to have a site that you can.
Desktop is still.
But for the platform engineer or the admin, we've got something coming soon that ties that together, and you can see your sets things up, your controls, your metrics across there. So that's on the near horizon.
Personally, I kind of like that because one of my actual main issues with cloud is I don't want to do everything in a browser.
Exactly.
And even though Docker Desktop is semi-browserish, it's still a local application.
Yeah.
Being able to, actually a very weird analogy. It's like Apple Music. It's a desktop application, but it's connecting to the cloud things when it needs to.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I have a local application.
We try to think of it different ways. This is my current theory, like talking to people, is that split the archetypes of a platform engineer and a developer, right?
Yep.
And developing teams they want the desktop application. That's why we put stuff into Docker Desktop. So you and your teammates feel connected, and you'll use the machine you want. A platform engineer, and sometimes you can take the admin as well, I guess, but take a platform engineer. They really want a much more holistic view, and they're much more interested in services and actions. They want to know who's using what and how's it performing. So a browser often makes much more sense to them because it's kind of almost that physical gaze. Like I'm looking down on my work, and I need to look up on my many screens to see what's going across the board. So we're trying to put just enough into the machine that helps development teams go into the application, and then also have a view for people that's not where they work. They want the browser experience.
This is possibly going back a step actually, but it just came into my head. Around the configuration, you talked about there will be a future feature for location of where the builds happen. But can you also select things like, you mentioned architecture, so I'd have to be able to select, I want different architectures for different builds, or it's all based on the Docker file, I guess.
Yeah, so you have the Docker file. I can throw to Savannah in a second. So you get a pair of builders by default. Now, depending kind of what user type you are, you get different size machines, different size caches.
That was what I was going to ask.
Yeah, you can. They're all on our website. We're very kind of open about them, and they're kind of optimized for the number of people. So
and different use cases like
so
GPU support.
Yeah, we have. You can contact us, and we do more bespoke builders. So we're talking to some people building ML, and they want certain different features enabled.
That's kind of where I was going with that.
Yeah, it's totally configurable.
Okay.
There's a self-serve option, or you can contact us.
Is that also configurable in a config file, or is it still?
At the moment, it's come to us and we'll configure it for you. Yeah, you get the default options in your self-serve, and part of that's so we learn, right? Because what we don't want to do is be disconnected from our users. So come talk to us and we can work out what people need, and then we can make it so they're more publicly available.
Friendly, don't we? Talk to people.
We have Slack.
So January is not that long ago. KubeCon next year, or DockerCon later this year, I guess. What's next on the roadmap?
For BuildCloud?
Yeah.
We've got a lot of stuff coming. Coming up very shortly, we'll be able to. I've got a VPN piece of work coming through, so people have got artifacts on premises. That's a big thing for us. And then it falls into two camps. The big things we want to listen and learn, and tell people what they're using and how we find the feedback. Other things we're exploring and particularly interested in talking about is speaking to people building large ML and using AI, because for us that's often a different type of developer. Yeah. They just want it to work, and we have auto builds on Docker Hub, very popular with that user group because it's very simple to set up and it just works and doesn't break. But we've spoken to a few people like that where their builds are typically 2 hours long, and that's really important to their job to get that data back so they can kind of continue working. So that's something we're looking into. Other stuff, kind of keeping a little bit close to our cards. We've got. I can give you the broad view is we want our products to work with each other.
Yes.
So
it's kind of coming back to
of course, we're always thinking about how do you utilize Scout and build together? How do test containers and build come together? Some stuff we're looking into.
All right. have to ask if people can go and test it because you already mentioned they can.
Yes.
So is that 200 minutes? Is it free?
If you're just an individual developer, you get 53 minutes every month. If you buy a seat, you get an extra 200. And it starts at they're like $5 a seat. We try to keep it affordable.
Aiven. I know what Aiven is, but even though you're doing pretty well, I would guess a lot of people are not sure what Aiven is. So
Yeah.
what is Aiven?
What is Aiven? So Aiven is a data platform.
Okay.
So data, what can you do with data? You can persist it, you can cache it, you can stream it, you can analyze it. And we are a single place where for all those problems, all those things that you have to do, we have a solution for that. So basically we have a collection of 11 different products, all open source, using the upstream version. So we are not forking it, so really. And we provision that for you. We manage that for you. We are cloud provider agnostic. That means that you can pick the cloud provider that you want. And at any time you can change. So you can spin up a Kafka on Azure and then spin up a Redis on Google Cloud in a completely different version. It's all centralized, managed, and supported by us.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I have a little bit of inside knowledge to Aiven myself, so I will ask some leading questions because I think back in the day, he says, like 2 years ago,
Okay.
you used to call yourself more of a database as a service, which is not even strictly true because you do also have Kafka. And,
Exactly. It's
and
not only database.
Cassandra and all these other things.
Yes.
The data platform is interesting. Do you also offer like connections between them, or is that up for people?
So we make, it's still always based on open source, but we make things easy. Like if you have a Kafka, you can easily spin up a Kafka Connect.
Yeah.
And you can easily, from the Kafka Connect, create a DBGM connector and point to your Postgres that is running in your same area. So we create some connections to make things easier.
Yeah. Okay. And I know the company is sort of very open source friendly. We'll come back to that later, but also very European. Which is good. I think originally from Finland.
Yes.
A big presence in Berlin as well, and possibly other places now. I'm not sure, but I know that's kind of the main bases, I think.
Yes, exactly. Berlin, Helsinki, and London is starting to grow.
Okay.
And even here in France, we have some offices, but really small offices.
Yeah. So I'd be interested to know if it's changed a little bit since I last encountered Aiven, but maybe explain a little bit more to me some of the open source policies, attitudes, etc. in Aiven.
Okay, so first of all, like I said in the beginning, the products that we offer are all open source, and the upstream version, it's pretty important to say that because there are some companies that create their own fork and lock you in. Here it's not the case. And so that's the first part about open source. Then we have an OSPO team. We have people that contribute to the project that we offer. So we have Kafka contributors, Cassandra, ClickHouse, Postgres. I'm not really sure if it's an urban legend or not, but the founders are Postgres contributors. But I think it's true. But I think it's true as well. I think it's true, exactly. So we contribute to the product that we offer, but we also have some own open source projects. We have Clo, which is a Kafka governance tool.
Clo, I guess.
Clo.
All within the crab picture.
Exactly.
I can see a crab in front of you.
And the second one, Carapace, which is a bit to do the same thing like Avro, to put contracts on your Kafka messaging, and that offer also a REST interface around your Kafka service. So if you want to speak to your Kafka using REST, could be useful sometimes. We offer that. So that are the projects that we contribute, that we create. And then as an employee, we have a program called Plankton.
Yes. You do still have it. Good.
We still have it, where you can contribute to any open source projects and outside your working hours, but I even give you some money for that. Yeah. And it's a max of 30 hours per month.
Oh, really?
Something like that. But that's also pretty cool. So this is how we are with open source, which makes me really happy. So I'm going to ask 3 follow-up questions. I'm going to try and remember them all because this is an interesting strategy.
And Aiven has been, I think, relatively successful commercially, despite this, I won't say despite, but yeah, let's use that word, despite this very kind of pragmatic business strategy. Too many strategies. It is 9 a.m. And I'm interested in speaking about competition. So I think the first one would be is bearing in mind you are just using upstream. Firstly, how do you compete with probably the biggest competitor you have, which is people just doing it themselves?
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting question because one of the reasons I joined, I'm a developer. I'm not a DBA or a DevOps people. And well, it was a few clicks and I had my Kafka running, my Postgres running. So it really removes friction from the developer. So you could do it by yourself, but I prefer doing 3 clicks. I'm a developer, than setting my own Kafka. And so I think that's the main point of not doing it yourself. I'm speaking here as an individual developer, but for bigger companies, they might want to delegate all of this stuff. One of our biggest customer, so just managing that himself, and at one point you say, no, enough. I don't want to do that anymore. It's a bit like the Netflix story that they had their own data center and at one point it crashed. And they say, okay, never again. Let's push that to AWS. And that's how a bit the cloud native story started. But that's another story. But so it's really about managing the services for you. And we don't lock you in. So if you at any point you want to go back and do it yourself, since we use the upstream project, you can set. You can go on-prem if you want.
And then, so you mentioned one of the 3-letter providers already. So the second biggest competitor you will probably have is the 3 main cloud providers, but also the hosted versions of some of the products that you run yourself.
Exactly.
Most of those companies all have their own options as well.
Yes.
And they often add, some secret sauce on top that you're not even going to know about. So how do you compete with that?
Well, so as you said, I think for each of our products, the company sponsoring or creating it has its offering. Sometimes it's challenging, like because of licenses. I'm speaking about Redis here. Redis has really cool features that are only on the Redis stack that we cannot offer. One way of dealing with that is the Redis protocol. Everyone can implement that, and we have now an agreement with another company called Dragonfly.
Dragonfly DB?
Since yesterday we're live, by the way. So, which re-implement the Redis protocol, including those really cool features. A feature that interests me and that interests everyone nowadays are the vector search part. That's really important for AI. And apparently it's faster. So that's one way of doing it. And again, we are one single entry point as well, because someone could take the solution from this vendor, but it's all around.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you offer over the individual vendors, over the cloud vendors. I mean, we could argue endlessly about why that may or may not be a good thing. Lock in those customizations, the portability, supporting European companies. You mentioned Dragonfly. I mean, that's possibly slightly different because it's kind of a Redis drop-in replacement. But how does the company decide which services it is and isn't going to offer? Like we mentioned M3 earlier, and that I think you don't offer anymore, mostly because it doesn't really exist anymore. But how do you decide which ones you're going to stop and start offering?
Well, so I'm just a developer advocate, so there are some decisions I'm not aware of. But for M3, I know one of the main reasons was, and it's related to open source, there was not a big community around it.
Yes.
That's really important. Yeah. We see how healthy the project is, if there's contributions, if the GitHub project is...
So just for example, you mentioned like the vector database suddenly being, it's not a new concept, but it's a more prescient concept now. Yes. So, when the industry changes, when people say, we don't want NoSQL anymore, we're interested in relational again, and vice versa and stuff like this, deciding which platforms you're going to...
Exactly. So currently and I think it's all the companies are AI. And it's the same for Aiven, though. I'm not aware of all the decisions, but might be that we decided to focus more on products that would make sense for that, that makes a connection for that, and drop other stuff that we would like to do, or we postpone it at least. So,
and is Dragonfly that main product, or are there others as well?
No, well, about vector search, we have Postgres, with PG Vector, which is great because you have vector search and it's still Postgres. So that's my favorite. But OpenSearch also do vector search. So OpenSearch is also an interesting story. But, and ClickHouse. I don't know if you know ClickHouse.
I've heard of it, but firstly, I didn't even realize it was open source. And secondly, I didn't realize it was a database.
To be honest, I didn't
know.
It
was like some kind of tracking tool. ClickHouse sounds like a tracking tool.
Really click. No. I didn't knew about it before I joined Aiven. So ClickHouse is a columnar database, and first time I tried it, I use a test data set, which are all the GPS antennas in the world. So it's 50 million lines, something like that. And the first query I did was geo-based, like give me all the antennas around me. And if I would be doing that with Postgres, so I will have to wait a few seconds. With ClickHouse, I get the results, bam, instantly. So it's a really impressive product.
Okay. Cool. And let's talk, you're working in developer evangelism relations. I think relations is a nicer word. What does the developer experience of Aiven look like? I know what I want. I don't know what I want. Do you use standard SDKs, special SDKs? Like when I sign up,
I go through. Yeah, exactly. So first step is to sign up, of course. Yeah. And then you have a few options. The first one that you will probably try is the console, our web console, which is really nice, really intuitive. You sign up, you choose a product, one of the 11 products, you choose a cloud provider, a plan, you give it a name, you click, and you get your service provision. In real life situation, most of the people won't use the console because, and that's where we have other options, of course. So we have a Terraform provider. Okay. We have a CLI, which is great. Everything is exposed as an API as well. And the last option that I really love because I'm a Kubernetes fan, we have a really nice Kubernetes operator. Okay. So you could install the operator, and
that's for each service, or
for each service, and then you apply your custom resource Kafka with topics, and the operator will provision. Of course, not in Kubernetes, but on the Aiven platform. Though I like that because for a lot of people, Kubernetes is a container orchestrator. It's true, it's that, but for me, it's way more than that. Yeah. It's really a platform to build stuff. Yeah. And this operator is a perfect example because you benefit from the reconciliation loop and all the power of Kubernetes. So that's the developer experience. So you have a few options. Yeah. Again, it removes a lot of friction. It's really easy. As me, again, as a developer.
Just from the cloud provider, I mean, we kind of mentioned competition. They are technically competitors as well. But which options do you offer?
Which cloud provider do we offer? So actually, we have the big three, of course. So AWS, Azure, Google. We also have DigitalOcean, which also hosts our free plan, because we also have a free plan for Redis, MySQL, and Postgres. Yeah. We have Oracle Cloud since a few months. Which is funny. I like to do a demo where I spin up a Postgres on Oracle Cloud just for. And we have another one. I don't remember the name.
Any of the European ones like OVH?
So
Civo.
OVH. Yeah. OVH is not a secret. OVH, we don't offer that as a cloud provider yet. Yeah. But OVH, when you take a database at OVH, in fact, you're using Aiven. We have an agreement with them, OEM. So, and I'm asking my own team, say, hey, why don't we offer OVH? It's in discussion. And there's another big one here in France. And I discussed with them yesterday, is Scaleway.
Oh, Scaleway.
Scaleway. So it would make sense, I think, for Scaleway to have it. And the other one, you mentioned also Civo.
And I spoke to them yesterday, so they're in my mind.
You spoke with Kunal?
Dinner.
Kunal. he told me, hey, Sadi, why don't we have an offering for cyber? So I would like, especially OVH and Scalwell, because we could offer an European or a French offering. Because for some companies, like Doctolib.
Yep. Is that in France as well?
Yeah, it's a French company.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Doctolib is a French company. They are using one of the big three cloud providers, but at one point the government will say, hey, no, the data has to be in France. Yeah. So it's nice to have an option. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't make those decisions. But after the discussion I had here, I'm going to look up in the company and see who I can talk to. And yeah.
And in terms of billing, do you bill on top of the cloud hosting, or is it inclusive?
By default, it's inclusive, but the price that you see is what you will pay. Okay. But since a few months now, we have also bring your own cloud. Okay. Because for some people, they have a better AWS deal than us. So it makes sense for them to bring their own cloud. So the control plane still runs in our AWS stuff, but they can bring their own cloud. And then we, of course, they have to still to pay because we still have to. They still have to pay me. Yeah.
Not you, just you. Yeah. Okay. 2 final questions. 1, KubeCon EU in a year. What's on the roadmap for the next 12 months?
In KubeCon or for Aiven? For Aiven. So it's. What's it on the roadmap? What can I say?
I know this is always. I always can spot a larger company because they won't tell me.
But what I would say is that, of course, AI, generative AI. So that means for my team producing a lot of content that shows how we can use our vector-related stuff. So that's one part. The other part is still focusing on make life easier for the developer, or maybe not even the developers. One thing we are exploring right now is our no-code solution.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that the business analyst can grab a block, saying incoming topic, draw a line, and say write a condition, and say that will go to this topic.
It makes you a true sort of data platform then. Yeah.
Exactly, and that will be integrated in code. But that is just exploring stuff, and related to that is also. A lot of people are asking, the first question I got is, hey, can I also host my runtime, my workloads on Aiven? No, we are a data platform. But
then you're just becoming a cloud provider, really.
Exactly. So it's really finding the balance, because for some stuff like Apache Flink, where we are, that is in beta, but it will be public soon.
I used to work for Flink.
Okay. So until now, we only offer a Flink SQL.
Okay.
But soon we will be able to upload jars.
Okay.
So that's it.
Do you have like blob storage for some of the databases that support it, or
blob storage? I don't know.
I think some databases have that as a
But the jar stuff that excites me as a developer, because I can now write I was used to use Kafka Stream, but now I'm using Flink. But now I can write some nice stuff. Integrate. Oh, by the way, I can integrate AI with Flink. And I'm giving a talk about that tonight. But
at the meetup?
At the meetup.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Where basically I show how you can leverage AI or LLMs to process your streams. And a really basic example is you have reviews coming in from a retailer. And for each review, you ask the LLM to do sentiment analysis. Hey, is that a positive review or a negative review? And based on that, you can send that to different topics. So
interesting.
That's a really interesting.
Cool. I look forward to seeing that. It's a little bit of a journey, but I think everywhere's a journey from this venue. So, okay, final question. This could be specific to Aiven's products or not. To a lot of companies and probably a lot of the clients that Aiven has, this journey to cloud native is something that they are either still beginning or is quite new to them, or they're very much in the middle of. But to many developers, it's kind of almost like old news, and they're looking for the next cool thing. So in the context of kind of application development, management, delivery, go as far as you want. What do you think the future will be? What's the next thing?
I think the move to containers you say it is old news, but for a lot of developers and companies, but I think my bet, I'm betting on WebAssembly.
Okay, you're not the first person to have said that, so I think so too.
And there are some really cool companies, including they're here. Fermion is one. They're a product spin. It's
I know, I've known them for a while, and I didn't actually realize they're now a couple of companies I've spoken to, they're using it in their product. And I didn't even realize that was something they did. The company.
So I will bet on that. Containers will still be there, I think. So it will live together. And other old stuff that is coming cool again, like eBPF. I think that's also, it will be more and more a game changer.
It's actually kind of getting closer to the metal, basically.
Exactly, closing to the... So I guess that are the two big things that will, in the 5 next year, I think, will get more and more traction.
Awesome. All right, cool. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
So those were my 2 interviews. The first one with Matt Wilson and anonymous colleague from Docker BuildCloud, and then Sebastian Blanc from Aiven. I will talk to you next week with updates from me. I just want to keep that short and sharp as an interview episodes. You can always get in touch with me at christianchilla.com or wherever you are listening to the podcast. Leave a comment, leave a rating, share the episode. Highly appreciated. Thank you very much for joining me, and take care, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show. Find out more about me at christianchilla.com, where you can find show notes, sign up for my newsletter, and find all of my writing, games, work, and video links. There's also details on how to get in touch with me. And if you want to get even closer to what I do, join my Discord server for behind-the-scenes discussions, helping me produce my shows and